Yo, I'm going to tell you guys how to win your games as Zed against Vladimir. I'm a Zed streamer who reached over 1200 LP on EOS, links in the description if you're interested in catching me live. So let's get right into it. For the runes I like to go first strike instead of conqueror because Vladimir is harder to kill 1v1, so we go standard first strike page, and then for the secondary runes, if you want to take flash and ignite, taking this is best, but I like to go flash and teleport and take these runes for the scaling, and then adaptive MR. Level 1 against Vladimir, don't push and just last hit with Q, otherwise you risk getting zoned out early on. This way, if he walks up to try and zone you off, you can Q him to poke him and just hug your minions and he'll walk away. Once you're level 3, you can start trading. The main thing you want to use against Vladimir is your superior range. So when Vladimir has his yellow or red Q, he usually wants to walk up to Q you. So you can let him walk up a bit, use your WE when he's in range of it, and then space back a bit forwards and backwards. He's going to try to walk up to get the Q on you, which makes his movement a lot more predictable, and then you can throw your Qs out to hit him. This is the main way to trade against Vladimir because his spells won't reach you if you do this correctly. Try to align your trades with first strike to get as much gold as possible. And with every extra point in Q as well as items that you buy, you're going to get more gold over time. Once you hit level 6, you have to be much more careful using this trade on his side of the lane because he can ghost and run you down if you are too far forwards. So you are better off just taking those trades on your side of the lane or even and waiting for your teammates to arrive and help you and start some skirmishes. However, if you did get successful trades off on the Vladimir after level 6 and you want to try to kill him, it's usually best to wait until your W is up and then open with ult, trade your ult deathmark damage for his W, because then as soon as he comes out of his W, you can line up your WEQ afterwards, and either one of two things will happen. You will get your WEQ off and he will die, or he'll be very low, or he will flash after your WEQ, and in which case you can take your ult shadow back and just run away. So it's a win-win situation. That being said, it's best to avoid 1v1ing the Vladimir and just keep farming him for gold with first strike and waiting for skirmishes with your team, because Zed does well against other champions in the game, whereas Vladimir usually doesn't in a general sense. This is why when you get Hydra, things get a lot easier. You're able to shove the waves in and find more skirmishes with your team. After the laning phase is over, you're going to want to be really careful in the side lane when you're pushing waves. This is because it's usually impossible to get short trades now, since he can ghost and protobelt and simply run you down to force the 1v1. So you're going to want to hold your W on every wave and be very cognizant of where the Vladimir is on the map. You will usually be able to push the wave and move into Fog of War and get a good position on everything if you do things correctly. Usually in the late game you're going to want to play for the team fight instead of the 1v1 because he deals a lot of damage and you can't really stay in Vladimir's range without getting popped. Even though Vladimir is a late game monster, he lacks a lot of range, which means that a lot of stray spells from your team will hit him and he will get CC'd, which will allow you to burst him out or burst him and then ult someone else and just take over the fight completely with your flexibility. In general though, in the late game you don't want to be with your team showing yourself, otherwise Vladimir can kill you, he can sort of one-shot you, so it's usually best to just push a side lane, get into the Fog of War and then look for flanks, and then you should flank them when Vladimir is not going on you. I think it's important that he doesn't focus you and one-shot you. That's it for the tips and tricks, so let's move on to item build and skill order. The cloth armor and stopwatch were misclicks that I clicked undo on, so ignore them. Other than that, it's a standard build. I like to go longsword refillable start into Hydra for the wave clear so that we can force more skirmishes with the team. And then if I feel really ahead, I would go Black Cleaver a bit earlier before Duskblade, but I didn't feel too ahead, so I went Duskblade and then I went Grudge. And then after Grudge I would have gone Cleaver, and last I would have went Edge of Night or Serpents, depending on what I need, and that's what you should do. And for the skill build order, we max Q first, and then W, and then E. You can put a couple points into E as well after you max Q if that's your comfort zone, but I usually like going into the W max because it's really nice. Against Vladimir it's definitely very nice for getting away, so in my opinion, you should max W second. In summary, Vladimir can be a hard matchup if you are isolated 1 versus 1 against him for too long, but with how League of Legends works and the skirmishes and stuff, the likelihood of you having a champion that's good against Vladimir on your jungle or support roles and etc. is quite high, and Zed does much better into other champions compared to Vladimir, so you want to play for the skirmishes, and it's a bit team reliant, but it usually ends up being quite chill. But that's basically it for this video. I hope it was useful, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.